Yeah, I mean, it's like really hard to be optimistic right now. I'm gonna be really honest.
Have you ever asked yourself what would have happened if G2 Esports actually won Worlds in 2019? In this video, you get the answer, as I show you how this one series could have changed the way we look at League of Legends history. G2 Esports today is considered the greatest Western team in League of Legends esports with countless domestic titles and an MSI win. But for many G2 fans and fans of League of Legends in general, there is still lingering regret. Why? Because they know what could have been.
It's going down, and Fun plus Phoenix are your world champions!
It's heartbreaking rewatching it. Not only did you watch the Cinderella story end, but it ended in such a gruesome way. I think it especially hurt just because so many fans of League of Legends really felt G2 had a chance to defeat FPX in the finals. G2 had already won 2 championships domestically. They defeated SKT at MSI in a grueling 5-game series.
Eliminates SK Telecom! North America face Europe in the MSI finals!
And they beat SKT once again in the semifinals at Worlds, proving that it wasn't a fluke the first time. Meanwhile, FPX had shaky moments all tournament long, so to see G2 get 3-0'd was unexpected and demoralizing. Now maybe it's because of my inability to cope with the result of that series, but ever since 2019, I've always asked myself, what if it didn't end that way? What if G2 Esports actually beat FPX in the finals and became world champions? Well, if it did happen, this is how it would look. So G2 lost to FPX because they were unable to adapt to FPX's unique playstyle. No team at the time played like FPX, and no mid laner could figure out DAMWON, the brains behind the FPX operation. G2 at the time were seen as League of Legends geniuses, but even they couldn't figure out the answer to the FPX test. But the answer was right in front of them the entire time. How did Muhammad Ali defeat George Foreman? How do you defeat the strongest puncher of all time? You don't run in there trading blows hoping to hit harder. You focus your attention on fundamentals and use those fundamentals to do something many would consider cowardly. You play keep away. Dip, dodge, duck. But how does that apply to G2? G2's whole strength was the mid-late game. That's how they ran SKT all over the map.
Top of the fight for now, but a beautiful body slam will not be enough. They're in the pinch. That is not where you want to be against Desire and SKT.
But they couldn't do any of that against FPX. And it's because their priorities were all wrong. FPX exploited G2's weaknesses in draft, while G2 fought FPX at their own game. But if G2 focuses on the fundamentals, aka the draft, and also focuses on playing keep away, aka just surviving the early game, well then, what happens? What happens when 2019 FPX doesn't get to run over the early game, and G2 gets to play their signature mid-late game? G2 Esports do what they were supposed to do. G2 Esports win Worlds. A Western team is the world champion of League of Legends, but it doesn't end there. G2 also accomplishes another first, something that no League of Legends team to this day has ever accomplished. And just before I get to that, if you're enjoying this video so far, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much. Back to the video. Now, what could possibly be better than being the first Western team in the modern era to win the World Championship? Being the first team ever to complete the Golden Road. The Golden Road is the pinnacle of sports achievement. It's when you win every single official tournament in a calendar year. The closest team to completing the Golden Road was SKT back in 2015, but they lost at MSI. G2 with this Worlds win does something even the great SKT couldn't manage to do. They become immortal. But what does this mean for the team? It sounds crazy, but let's think back to 2019. Who was in contention for the greatest teams of all time? You had Samsung White from 2014 and SKT from 2015. Well, we just confirmed that G2 did something SKT couldn't do in completing the Golden Road. And although Samsung White was more dominant at Worlds, they were losing in the LCK to their sister team Samsung Blue, so they didn't have the domestic titles. Not to mention the competition in 2019 was much harder for G2 than either of those other teams. So G2 now maybe has the strongest case for the greatest team of all time.
All people writing us off was just funny to me because I was sure we were going to win today, no matter what.
And what about the players? Even today, without that World Championship win, all the players from that 2019 team are considered some of the greatest Western players of all time. And that doesn't change. But with a World Championship win, some of these players enter a whole new stratosphere of conversation. Let's look at Caps. Right now, he's the Western GOAT. But imagine a World Championship win, a Golden Road, a potential World Finals MVP. Faker can't be contested for the #1 spot. But after that, who could you definitively say is absolutely better than Caps? Rookie's accomplishments are similar, but you could argue Caps did it on a Western team, which is even more impressive. Who else? Scout? He hadn't won his World Championship yet. EDG only won Worlds in 2021. And Chovy, he wouldn't have any of the accomplishments at this point. Let's just throw away accomplishments for a second. Let's look at impact. Caps took 2 different teams with 2 different rosters to the World Championship Finals and won one of them with a Golden Road. The more you think about it, the more second greatest mid laner of all time doesn't sound so far-fetched. And there's Jankos and Perks. See, after Canyon, who again would not really come into the limelight until the next year, and then Dandy and arguably Bengi, who else is there? Jankos' incredible long and successful domestic career combined with an epic slew of international wins, I mean, where would you rank Jankos? I would guess pretty high on the list of GOAT junglers. And Perks? I don't think there's any doubt. The greatest role swap in League of Legends history. I'm singling out these players, but for everyone on this team, this win would mean everything. But G2's win here wouldn't just bring them individual glory. It would change European esports forever. League of Legends, along with Counter-Strike, are the biggest esports in Europe. For years, the European scene had been pouring money into developing talent, building brands, and creating content, all with the hopes of competing on the international stage. Because winning on the international stage is everything. We already saw what losing Worlds and failing on the international stage can do to a region. BOG losing to T1 in 2024 wasn't just a loss in the series. Their loss led to reduced funding and hope in the LPL. But the opposite is also true. T1's constant winning keeps Korean esports alive. Esports players are like rock stars over there. And I promise you, things wouldn't be any different with G2, especially with their personalities.
I think Faker should be scared because Clubs is coming.
We're talking press tours, meetups, invitationals. Everyone wants to meet G2. Everyone wants to be G2. Funding in the scene increases, more young talent on the solo queue ladder. Even the orgs, before they only had hope, but now they have proof that a European team can win Worlds. It's a win for the entire region. But you can only celebrate for so long, because the next year is already around the corner. G2's 2020 season becomes about can they defend their crown, something only one other team ever pulled off, and things just got so much more difficult for them. Now G2 and their 2020 roster in real life won both splits of the LEC, but it wasn't without some close series. They even lost to their closest rivals in Fnatic in one series. But in the finals, G2 dominated. In our hypothetical scenario, we're introducing 2 new variables: G2's confidence and the LEC as a whole leveling up. G2 off of their World Championship win is probably more confident in their play than ever before. However, knowing G2 and their joking personalities, that might not always be a good thing. But in close games, that championship mentality separates them from the rest. At the same time, every team in the LEC now has more of a reason to invest in the season. G2's win brought more sponsors and more hope, so G2's competition all got a little better. With those 2 things in mind, how does everything shake up? Well, in the spring playoffs, G2 actually start off the same way they did in real life. with a loss.
He bounces. They almost got the kill. It's not enough, Mad Lions. They turn it around. He's going to be taking so much damage, but look, he's still not down. He's got a teammate to work with. Equalizer comes out. The Ocean and the life steal in the autos. The defending EU champions in G2 Esports are on their back leg. Mad Lions have earned this victory.
They lose a close 5-game series to the young Mad Lions squad. This team was hungry and had lots of top LEC level talent. Plus, you have to remember that G2's prone to being overconfident already. Add on a Worlds trophy and the whole role swap experiment, and it's easy to see a repeat of this. It's also easy to see G2 bounce back and run right through the gauntlet like they did in real life. G2 beat Mad in their rematch, just like they did in real life, and faced Fnatic in the finals. Now, Fnatic is a very strong team, and Reckless in particular is extra hungry and motivated. Caps left him and Fnatic to join G2, thinking G2 would give him a better chance to win. And then, he won. So Reckless and Fnatic are pissed. Only thing is, G2 is just better.
Into his passive, the block form, and Fnatic cannot defend them. 2 kills to G2. Join the fray as well as Yakos goes low, but Hylissang's dead. The flash away, Wonder TP'd in behind him, and he meets Recklessly shut him down by the Janna just to try and heal up his teammates. Hylissang's done, Bwipo's done, and perhaps Fnatic are done as never. G2 are your spring split champions as they take down the Nexus and claim in the end their 7th title, matching the record set by Fnatic. 7 titles for G2.
G2 steamroll the orange and black. But summer playoffs is a totally different story. This time G2 don't mess around and take care of business in the first round. But Fnatic is waiting and ready. They're even more motivated after getting smacked around by G2 last time. They 3-2 G2 just like in real life. Their confidence is through the roof. All they have to do is beat G2 one more time in the finals. But they couldn't do it in our real timeline, so can they do it now? At best, Fnatic could take the game, but in the finals, G2 once again show their class and take a dominant win.
Dives forward, Hylissang walking his way, limping away from the fight. The Dragon's gone down. Fnatic gonna try and open up, see if they can get into this fight, but Bwipo's already done. 8 titles! G2 are the greatest team we have ever produced in Europe, and they go back.
So that makes 2 years in a row, 4 titles in a row. Counting international trophies, this version of G2 has now won 6 trophies in a row. That's more than any team in League of Legends history up to that point when you count both domestic and international wins. They are the hottest team in the world. Well, there is still one other team G2 does have to worry about. Let's introduce the villains of the story. DAMWON Gaming. You know what's a great motivator? Revenge. And revenge is what drove DAMWON Gaming in 2020. Let's rewind a little bit. Remember back to 2019 Worlds? We talked about the finals and a little bit about the semis, but we glossed over the quarterfinals. The team G2 beat to advance in the tournament in the quarterfinals was DAMWON. This was DAMWON's first World Championship. Their young stars, Canyon, Naguri, and Showmaker were still raw, and G2 shut them down. Now this pissed DAMWON off so much that in real life, they made it their mission to beat G2. Imagine then that they had to also watch G2 win Worlds that same year. DAMWON is extra motivated, and they dominate the LCK this year. In real life, it was DAMWON and TES, Top Esports, heading in as heavy favorites, with G2 as a dark horse. But in this hypothetical scenario, G2 is the reigning, defending world champions. They are the favorites. And it's going to be G2 versus DAMWON to decide it all. But that's assuming G2 make it that far in the first place, which isn't a guarantee with how things will shake up. Remember, G2 exited the group stage in 2020 as the 2nd seed. They lost a crucial tiebreaker to Suning. And this put them on a collision course with DAMWON in the semifinals where they eventually lost. That loss ended their tournament and ended their team. So this tiebreaker is everything. Here G2 are facing off against Suning in their tiebreaker match. Now, there are many reasons Suning beat G2 in real life. They had draft advantages, they played out strong early games despite G2's resistance, but most of all, that could not be stopped in teamfights. G2 themselves admitted that Suning was simply outplaying them. So it's going to be hard to make a case for G2 in this scenario. But we're going to make one for them anyways. The only point that I can make in favor of G2 is that G2 has championship experience. They've already faced draft issues before, they've already been pressed in the draft by a top Chinese team like FPX, and they've learned to cope with that team fighting prowess of the top LPL teams. So G2 are ready for Suning in a way that they weren't in real life. And they take it right to Suning.
Engaging 1v5 all alone, slashing and dashing and crashing. Angel finds the kill into Wonder. Where's the Sonic Wave? Resonating Strike not going to be coming through just yet. Suning going in for the fight. Wonder in the middle of 4 people. Two-shot barrage coming through. Finds the kill into Huang Feng. Sword Art's taking all the damage down. Mystic Shot for 1. They're trying to kite themselves back. Huang Feng stays alive. Using the QSS. Keeping himself in a good spot. Caps coming in with the ulti. Gold card goes out. Huang Feng goes down. G2 has persisted and Perks insisted on a win in this game.
This is League of Legends, baby! What a game between G2!
Vin is unable to land his legendary Gangplank Barrow, and without it, G2 advanced from the group as the first seed. Now for simplicity's sake, we're going to swap G2 and Suning in the playoff bracket. Keep it nice and simple. This means G2 is now facing off against JDG. Now JDG in the LPL was battling tournament favorites TES all year, so this is definitely a top contender. But their playstyle lean more traditional teamfight oriented, which I think favored G2, or at least this current G2 that had been used to it at this point. G2 in real life was able to tear apart Gen G, a strong Korean side through superior map movements and playmaking, and I see that repeating here with JDG. Now I know what you're thinking, Europe struggles against Chinese teams internationally, but this is the G2 that beat FPX in the World Finals. They've got that monkey off their back already, so they take it to JDG, beating them 3-0, just like they did Gen G.
Almost down, Life on the front line's gonna get slept, but he can use the Gargoyle Stoneplate to heal himself back up. Now it's a great fight for Gen G as they push forward, but the Solar Flare finds 3 on the back line. Is a double for Caps, and the curtains have opened. And perhaps this is the encore that Perks was looking for. PDD sniped down, a triple for Caps. Add more pages.
Now here's where things take a huge turn. G2 faced off against one tournament favorite in DAMWON the first time around. This time they're going up against the #1 seed from China in TES. Now Top Esports is on a roll at this point with Beast in the mid lane, Knight leading the way. You could argue they're even more of a complete team on paper than the FPX team G2 beat in the finals the previous year. But honestly, none of that analysis matters, and I'm sure you know why. See, if there's one thing we know about Top Esports, it's that you can always count on them to disappoint on the international stage. G2 put on another masterclass and sent the #1 Chinese seed home in 4 games. And now, G2 is in the World Finals. That is now 2 World Finals in a row, and 3 straight World Finals for Caps. Not only did they complete the Golden Road last year, but they have a chance to do it twice in a row. They won Spring, MSI got cancelled, they won Summer, and they're currently in the finals of Worlds. With 2 Golden Roads in a row, there is no question G2 is the greatest. And then every single player is placed somewhere between top 2 to 3 all-time in their role. And we're talking about G2 the same way we talk about T1. This is what is at stake. All they need to do to achieve all of this and more is defeat the team standing opposite of them, DAMWON Gaming. As we already spoke about, DAMWON is out for revenge. They are playing at an elite level. The only thing that's changed from real life to this hypothetical scenario is that G2 is more confident having won before. But is that enough to push them over the edge this time over DAMWON? I think not.
DAMWON Gaming, though, set their sights on the Nexus. DAMWON Gaming set their sights on the final. They look to G2. They take their time with it, but they sweep aside the LEC.
Although confidence and experience can go a long way, none of G2's competition up until this point could do what DAMWON could do. G2's macro play and map movements would be severely limited when faced with the overwhelming individual talent on DAMWON. the top side would be completely overmatched, and their bottom lane would not be able to make enough impact on their own. G2 wins 2 games this time, making the series more interesting, but ultimately, G2's Worlds campaign ends the same, losing to DAMWON Gaming. Despite all the changes, all the hypotheticals, it all ends the same for G2. In the offseason, Perkz still looks to switch back to mid lane, and the team looked to replace him with Reckless. And the rest of the scenario doesn't play out any different for G2. Without Perkz in 2021, their magic slips away and they miss Worlds altogether.
Well, anyway, and then you should buy him crispy rolls, Mickey, and you should give it to him whenever you feel like it. But we guys, we as a team should buy him something bigger, something greater. Yeah.
Happy birthday to you.
Make a wish.
Hey.
You didn't say thank you?
Thank you. Look thank you. But yeah, I guess do it for the camera now.
It's amazing to think what an amazing ride this would have been. But at the same time, I think it's important to recognize how special G2 really was just in real life, their real story. See, they didn't go on to Golden Road and then almost Golden Road a second year in a row, but even without that, they still left behind a lasting legacy that lives on to this day. When people think of Europe, they think of G2. When people see G2 across from them on the international stage, they still see a threat. I know many of you now think that's laughable, but trust me, no international team, especially no Korean team, sees G2 across from them and thinks, free win. Plus, the players are still some of the greatest of all time. Yeah, maybe they're not in the top 2, 3, or 4 range, but they are without a doubt some of the best to ever play this game. And more than that, their legacy still lives on. It will always live on.
Is your wrist fine? Mick, is your wrist fine? Mick, is your wrist fine?
What are we doing?
It's probably better not to have Mick next.
Actually, that's like a good mental thing. That's like a good mental thing.
No?
Good luck in your games, guys. Good luck.
See you on the same.
Good luck to you guys as well.
Now, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you want to see more what if videos like this or what you would like to see more from the channel going forward. Thank you, and I'll see you for the next one.